Welcome to Did We Make Ourselves Clear, the podcast that clarifies the subject matter of love, life, and everything in between. I'm your host, River, and today we are joined by a very special co-host who just so happens to be my husband, Bill. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Well, thank you, River, and always nice to be called special. It's good to be here on this side of the mic for second episode of season 2 of Do We Make Ourselves Clear? And thanks for having me on the show. Did want to do a plug. I work for an organization called Boys Hope, Girls Hope. We nurture and guide motivated young people in need to become men and women for others, career ready, well educated, all across the country. And we're having an event, which is called the Walk to Hope. It is a virtual walk that you can register for anywhere in the country. Get your walk on, do fitness. It all gets collected in an app. So the way you can support it is on the screen. So thanks for allowing me to plug that, River.
You're welcome. And we are here today to talk on a topic that is very special and very dear to me. We're here to seek some inner peace with Siri Atma Kaur. Siri is a Kundalini Yoga instructor, a hypnotherapist, and a sound practitioner. And we want to welcome Siri Atma Kaur to the show. Welcome, Siri.
Hi, River. Hi, Bill. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you all.
Thank you for coming. First, just to start us off, tell us a little bit about the origins of Siri Atma Kaur, the name.
Well, as a Kundalini teacher, I decided to take a spiritual destiny name, which anyone can do. You don't have to have anything to do with Kundalini Yoga. And so there's a couple of different ways that you can obtain or choose for yourself a spiritual destiny name. The idea is that we are being called toward our destiny by what phonetics and sounds, and then the energy of those sounds, and then we answer to that. We identify as that. So my favorite thing about the whole idea of spiritual destiny names is that you really start to understand that we all have the potential to be any of these possible names that come from a book that stems from Sikh Dharma. And since Kundalini Yoga and Sikh Dharma tend to be pretty intertwined, that's how I came in to know about this whole process of choosing a name and having that call you towards your destiny. So these names are all terms that come from the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, which is part of Sikh Dharma. And since we all embody the same potential, we all have all of the names within us. We could all answer to any of the names. For instance, mine, Siri Atma. Siri is highest or great or pure. And then Atma would be like Atman, which is soul, essence, or self. So, of course, anyone can rise to their highest essence, their pure soul, their great self. And as someone calls me Siri Atma, and I learn to associate my identity as Siri Atma, it pulls me toward my spiritual destiny. And any name would have fit any person.
Wonderful. I love it. Well,
Yeah, that's really, thank you for sharing that. You know, it's a really awesome thing when we can find our purpose and our destiny in life. And so along those lines, I just wanted to say, what was it really that drew you to the practice of yoga to begin with? What drew you to that?
To just get into yoga in the very beginning, I was really interested in the mental aspect. I just wanted some peace of mind. At the time, I was a single mama with 2 very young boys, and they were 2 and 3. And so I just kind of felt pretty frazzled most of the time and wanted some peace. So I actually started practicing yoga out of a book called Journey into Power, and it was Baron Baptiste yoga, which I at that point I had no idea there were different styles of yoga. And even though I was doing physical postures with my physical body, I was still in touch with my breath more conscientious of the flow of my breath, and started to realize how moving my body and breathing was helping to calm my mind down.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, we first met when I attended one of your Kundalini yoga classes. Can you explain to the viewers and the listeners what the practice of Kundalini yoga is all about?
Well, all styles of yoga, probably all forms of disciplined movement, these ancient practices that have been passed down through the ages, like Tai Chi, Qigong. I think all of those sort of movement practices and meditation practices lead to the rising of the Kundalini energy. And Kundalini yoga specifically, for me personally, felt like a fast track. Not that I've tried everything that's out there. However, it really helped me form a connection, a really strong connection, I must say, with my inner self. And I believe that that's what the phenomenon of Kundalini energy is. We're taught that Kundalini energy is the most powerful energy available to humans, that it's a divine creative energy. And for me personally, my understanding is that if we're made in the image of our creator, then we have like attributes as our creator. And so to get in touch with that sacred part of myself that was more energy than it was my body or even my mind and my thoughts, and felt more eternal, that was just a really important part of me learning to trust myself, listen to my intuition, just be who I feel I am. I was a young adult in my mid 20s when I found the practice, and I was just trying to find my way and figure out a lot of things. So it really helped me. And Kundalini Yoga uh, boasts about how the balance for the glandular system and the nervous system really come into play right away. If you've ever practiced Kundalini Yoga, for anyone that's ever practiced before, you feel different immediately right after practice. And you do with these other styles of yoga as well. There's just something that not everybody can put their finger on. It's difficult to describe. To know it is to experience it. Something different about the way you feel after a Kundalini Kriya or practice.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so, you mentioned that it's something different. So when you walk into a Kundalini yoga class as opposed to Tai Chi or some of the other classes, what can someone who hasn't experienced it, what can they expect that's a little different as far as the style and how it all goes?
Such a good question, Bill. Thank you. So for starters, when you walk in, just so that you're not caught off guard, you might find your teacher, your instructor, wearing all white with hair all drawn up on top of their head, covered in some kind of material, whether it's a little beanie cap or a bandana, a scarf, or even a full-on turban. And that is basically the uniform of a Kundalini yoga instructor, wearing all white to force yourself to carry yourself consciously and to stand out, to brighten and boost your aura. It's kind of like you're proclaiming yourself to be this empty vessel. And we can also think of it as, the white is the embodiment of all of the colors of the spectrum, becoming that pure white light. And then as you start settling in, you may notice that some of the students are also wearing white or covering their heads. Covering the crown is said to keep your energy in as it rises up through your chakra system, since we have a fontanelle, that soft spot that never completely closes. And again, it's setting you apart. It's different, and it's just a tool, just like wearing all white. It's not a requirement. It's just a tool for those who it resonates with to utilize. And another thing that sets Kundalini Yoga apart right off the bat is that we always chant to tune ourselves in. And several practices chant Om or something, in the very beginning, there's a salutation. The Kundalini modality uses Om Namo Guru Dev Namo, which means I bow to the divine teacher within. So you're recognizing that you have all the guidance and wisdom that you could ever need within you already. You're not chanting or worshiping or praying to anything outside of you. It's just a matter of drawing that highest self awareness up to the forefront of your mind and being led through the experience of the Kriya, the meditation, the whole class from that perspective of your highest self.
Fantastic. We actually had someone just comment in the room. I want to say hello to Eve Nectar. She asked about ages. Is there an age limit for this practice?
Any age can do some aspect of the practice. There are certainly things that would be more appealing to a child, a little more fun and hold their interest longer than, say, one of the longer meditations or something like that. There, with the development of our spine, there are a few things that are counterproductive for youngsters before they develop all three of those curves of their spine. And then with the elderly, it's really just, what feels good to them. And so Kundalini is can-do yoga. So no matter your age or your strength, your flexibility, your balance, the agility of your body, your nervous system, your mental attention, no matter any of that, there's going to be something that you can do in the practice. And that's a big part of Kundalini, is just doing what you can, recognizing that we all start somewhere, and just being patient with yourself and keeping that kind, compassionate, silent self dialogue going as you learn something new and as you start to expand your comfort zone. So I like to remind students that going slightly outside your comfort zone is where all the magic tends to happen. But if you push yourself too far, too fast, that's never helping. You could incur an injury or just turn yourself off from the idea of the practice if you have an unpleasant time in any way, if it seems boring or something like you're just not quite ready for, it's not quite resonating with you for whatever reason at that point in your life.
Yeah. So I guess my next question to you would be, what's the role that breath work plays in Kundalini Yoga? I do know that's done in all yoga modalities. Can you explain what the difference of the breath work can be in Kundalini?
Sure. So usually in other styles of yoga, the breath is always the discipline, right? Even just as throughout our day, we can change the heart rate, the mental state, our mood with our breath. So the breath is always the discipline. And with all the other styles of yoga, we're usually instructed to keep that deep belly breathing, or just a full, complete inhalation and an Hi.
Go. I
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me
Oh,
okay? Wonderful.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So we were speaking about breath work.
That's correct.
Okay. And so in all yoga styles, we're instructed to breathe fully and completely and deeply and to do our best to keep that full, deep, conscientious breath going throughout the yoga class. However, in Kundalini Yoga, the most common way to breathe is full and deep, slow, deep breathing or regular breathing. And yet, since we're working with Kriyas, which are like formulas, they can actually layer any combination of a posture. So, putting yourself into a yoga posture and holding that like a static posture, or a dynamic movement where you're doing an exercise, a movement exercise with your body and you're moving with the breath. And then we also layer on style of breathing, sometimes visualization, sometimes even a mantra as we practice, and sometimes mudra, the hand seals, the hand postures. So when we layer on breathing, it's usually breath of fire is the most common way, other than long, deep breathing for Kundalini practice. And there's other styles of yoga or of breathing like Satali pranayam, breathing in and out through the rolled tongue. And then there's also a variation of that for folks that are not able to roll the tongue. And so sometimes in the Kriya, there are usually several exercises, and within the directions for each exercise, there may be a specific way to breathe. And that breath of fire is the most common, which is said to cleanse the lungs and do all these wonderful things for detoxifying the lungs and adding energy and alleviating pain. But the biggest benefit of breath of fire is that it puts a virtual, like an energetic layer around your nerves, so that if we've worn away the myelin sheath insulation layer around our nerves with stress and those stress hormones and that acidity and inflammation that can come from the stress hormones, we can virtually rebuild that insulation so that we're not feeling all afraid and frazzled. And the breath of fire is really just pumping your navel back towards your spine and letting that push your air out through your nose. Sometimes we're directed to do it through the mouth. And then just letting your belly relax. And that creates a vacuum that pulls the air in. And then when you're first getting started with breath of fire, it can be quite an experience. It can take some practice. We're so used to holding our bellies in all the time. It's not always easy for us to let them go. And sometimes we reverse the breathing and it's like we want to breathe out when we're pushing our belly out. So it's just kind of retraining that beautiful relationship between the diaphragm muscles, the navel, and the lung space.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I've found, whether I'm talking to friends or family or coworkers, that it seems like in these times that people are just a little bit more anxious, facing anxiety and uncertainty. And for people like that, or those of us who are experiencing that, Siri, what would you suggest of how Kundalini Yoga can be a support?
Yeah, that's something that I wish, we could all come together and practice yoga. And maybe in these warmer temperatures, we'll be able to do so and still stay socially distanced and keep everyone safe. So, in the meantime, finding some virtual instruction or working with a beginner Kundalini Yoga book, which I'm happy to recommend a couple. The Flow of Eternal Power, Kundalini Yoga, The Flow of Eternal Power is a great place to start. And there's another book simply called Kundalini Yoga. And those are both great for beginners. So the practice, most of the time, the title of the Kriya or meditation gives you some good insight as to how you're going to feel after that practice, after you do that yoga set or that meditation. And there's really a Kundalini way to do everything or to work on everything. So there's Kriyas and meditations to open the heart, to heal the lower back. And so, of course, there are plenty of things for anxiety and for alleviating fears and for calming the mind, for strengthening intuition. And in fact, there's a whole protocol for anxiety in a book called Sacred Therapies, where instead of just kind of piecemealing together what feels right in that moment, this fella has done extensive research and has come up with, you do this Kriya, followed by this meditation, followed by this breathing, followed by this mantra, followed by this meditation, and the whole protocol done on a daily basis or a semi-regular basis is said to help alleviate anxiety.
And you said the name of that book was called Sacred Therapy?
Sacred Therapies, plural.
Sacred Therapy, okay.
Mhm.
And then the other one was The Flow of Eternal Power?
Yeah, The Flow of Eternal Power.
Okay, all right, fantastic. I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there more that you wanted to say in regards to that? I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that I was commenting that the cover for Sacred Therapies is absolutely beautiful. It kind of looks like stained glass images of sacred geometry kind of layered over each other. It's a beautiful hardback book.
Wonderful. Well, I know that, like you said before, you'd love for all of us to be able to get together and do practice yoga together. And how have you been able to keep busy as a Kundalini teacher? And we're going to talk about other things later on in this segment. But how have you been able to keep busy during your Kundalini classes?
I've been offering some class series where instead of committing to a day and time for the, unto infinity, however long, and just always having that on my schedule, I've taken to offering series of maybe just 4 weeks in a row, or I've done as many as 12 weeks in a row. And I'm finding that gets a really good response. I think people start to feel like, okay, this isn't going to be available all the time, so I better sign up while it is offered. And we're making all of those available virtually as well, and we're keeping in-person attendance at a minimum. So 7 is what we max out at the West East Yoga Studio over on Big Bend Boulevard. And that allows us to keep 6 feet between all the corners of all the mats. And we just keep our masks on while we're inside. I'm looking forward to offering some classes in the park, possibly this spring, summer, and fall.
That's great. Thank you, Siri. Last question on Kundalini Yoga. I don't know. Would you be willing to maybe share a example of a chant or sacred chant?
Yeah. I'd love to just share the tuning in mantra with everyone. So this one, you would want to tune in before you work with any Kriya or meditation that you find online or in any book. And those kinds of things are why it's highly recommended that you work with a teacher at first. And you can find lots of videos. I even have a video out there explaining tuning in and why and how it works and the translation of the mantra. So again, it's Ong Namo Guru Dev Namo. And we tend to take a deep breath in and then use our exhale to chant the mantra. And just a really cool little tidbit of info, that you've got the beautiful meaning that I bow to the divine teacher within. And then you have how cool it sounds, the sacred sounds. And to hear your own voice, your own essence create those sounds is even more special. And then the really cool, this is where the science side of me is very impressed and intrigued with this practice. We have meridian points all over our body, and we have 84 on the upper palate, the roof of our mouth alone. So when we chant with a rather stiff tongue, we press those meridian points on the roof of the mouth in a particular order, a different order for each mantra. And that's actually sending messages to the different sections of our brain and all of our glands and our endocrine system and our nervous system. And so everything, all these beautiful systems within us start to communicate with each other differently and therefore change the way we feel. And so you can literally change your vibration with chanting mantra. So I'll go ahead and just chant one time for you to give you an example of what it sounds like.
Okay.
And I'm so accustomed to just bringing my palms together in front of my heart as I chant. I'll go ahead and do that too. Om Namo Gurudev Namo.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
sharing
for
that with us.
Yes. Yeah, you said that you've been at West East Yoga Studio. Is that correct?
Correct. West East Yoga was actually the program where I first became a certified yoga instructor, just a traditional yoga instructor, not Kundalini. And I have worked with my instructor, Jaime Sanchez, ever since graduating. And he was able to obtain this room 24/7 and for his yoga teacher trainings. And so during some of those idle hours, he's allowed me to manage a yoga studio schedule. So there's about 4 of us teaching pretty regular classes. Everyone else has weekly regular schedule, and I'm the difficult one.
Well, so if someone wants to get into the Kundalini class, so do they just go to West East Yoga Studio, or would you like them to go to your social media handle?
They could do either one. They could go to westeastyoga.com, or they could go to the Seek with Siri Atma Facebook page or my personal Facebook page. And every time that I'm offering a series, I do create a Facebook event and share it on all 3 of those pages: the studio, my personal business, and my personal page.
All right. And the name of your personal business again is?
It's actually just Seek, plain and simple. And on Facebook, I decided to make it Seek with Siri Atma, so that my friends and family would realize what this invitation to support this page was all about, that it was coming from.
Makes it a little easier to search that way, I'm sure. Yeah, on Facebook. Well, hey, let's. You do so much, so we definitely want to make sure we acknowledge other things that you're into, and I know hypnotherapy is one. So I didn't know if you could share a little bit about your work on hypnotherapy.
Well, hypnotherapy really works with the subconscious mind, and Kundalini Yoga actually works with the subconscious mind as well. It kind of was therapy for me for a while there, and however, you have to do it regularly, right, for these effects to keep settling in deeper and deeper and deeper. So it can be work. And hypnotherapy is the same in that the more often you revisit some of the symbols and messages that come through for you after your hypnotherapy session that's guided by someone like me, you're basically learning self-hypnosis in the process. And so after, I'd say, 8 sessions with a hypnotherapist, you're probably able to walk yourself through self-hypnosis and have lots in your toolbox to pull from, that you're able to continue that work and keep peeling back those layers of healing deeper and deeper and deeper, but without needing to necessarily work with a guide. So the benefit would be that you can just do it on the spot at your convenience, that you're not continuing to invest in this therapy. And then that opens up my schedule to work with other clients and teach other people these tools. So it is a lot like guided visualization. However, there are points where I ask my clients to come back up to vocal cords and share with me what they're seeing, sensing, feeling, experiencing. And I'm kind of guiding them on what to see to a certain point, and then it opens up and their mind gives them the images, aka the symbols, of where they need to go, what they need to explore, what messages come through via those symbols for their healing. So it gets very, very personalized after I'm able to get you to that deep, deep state of relaxation. And in that deep state of relaxation, that's where we can get to an egoless state. So we're going for alpha brainwave in the hypnotic trance state. Beta is our on, like right now, We're all in beta, talking to each other, very on. And
Hmm.
we cycle through all these different brainwave states through every 24-hour period. Like theta is when you're dreaming, and delta is that deep, deep, restful sleep. And so alpha is still awake, still accessing the intellect, the imagination, the memory, and also a very relaxed and creative and ideally egoless state, so that the healing and the messages can come through without our conscious mind rearing up and saying, oh no, not me, or that doesn't make sense. Like if someone sees and if an animal is speaking, for instance, something that the external rules wouldn't allow, but in the inner levels of mind, those external rules don't apply.
So, give us some reasons why people should or could seek out your hypnotherapy sessions. Why would someone come? I mean, what are some of the reasons that most people need to come? I know I'm one of those people that would love to dive into that. So, tell us more.
Yes, I
Or
think for the
circumstances.
same reasons that I started looking into yoga and meditation, just for some inner peace, for some mental calm. But people come for all sorts of reasons. I've been practicing for almost 2 months now, and I'm very grateful to our community that I've had the opportunity to gain so much experience straight out of the gate after certification. And I've had people come out of pure curiosity, uh, out of having anxiety or just feeling off or just feeling a little empty or sad, depressed, lonely, um, all sorts of reasons. And really, just like there's a Kundalini way to work on everything, whether it's a broken heart, an inflexible lower back, cleansing the stomach, anything like that. Hypnotherapy uh, can really speak to pretty much anything as well. I'm currently learning clinical hypnotherapy, which works to help get people out of the pain body,
Okay.
and even talk directly to the part of the body that is holding that dis-ease, that lack of ease, or that needs some restoration or balance. It's fascinating work, even commanding the cells, for cancer patients. And it's just, it seems so simple, and yet it is so profound. I know from my own experience of healing through this work, which is why I chose to get certified to share this with others. And I'm just in awe as I witness my clients and the images their mind comes up with, and right down to what color things are, all just so symbolic of what they're going through and how that can help heal and alleviate the trouble in their current life circumstance. And then even sometimes thinking like, yeah, okay, we did it. And then talking to them a couple days later and realizing what a profound effect that had on them. So even when I'm thinking like, okay, I hope that was good, and I get to hear from them later, and it's always profound. I'm just
That's
amazed.
amazing.
And that's
Yeah,
their mind
thank you.
doing that. That's not boasting on myself. That's their mind. It's everyone's mind. The human mind is just genius.
I can imagine. It's amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so with hypnotherapy, I know with yoga, you mentioned you can try to do some of the classes kind of online. How does hypnotherapy, does that translate, or does that have to be more in person due to the nature of it?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that, Bill. Thank you. Actually, I have an office in a box for when we come out of this pandemic and quarantine and social distancing. But I have been seeing most of my clients online, and it transfers very well virtually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we're always working with like the local sounds. So even if I had an office, there might be footsteps down the hall if it's in a shared building, or traffic outside the window or something like that. So we're always looking with potentially distracting sounds. And so I'm just tweaking it a little bit, for them to notice sounds in their environment, and then to also notice sounds in my environment, and just invite all of that in to actually help them relax. And then I guess the other caveat of being virtual is, and now I've had a few people fall asleep and I've been able to wake them back up. But at the very end, when I bring in folks all the way back up to full waking consciousness, back to that beta brainwave state, awake and alert, since I'm not there in person, if they were taking a while, I might put like a heavy hand on their shoulder, and I just use my singing bowl. So pre-hypnotic suggestion, I tell them, everybody wakes up. I don't think we're going to have any problem. You'll be fine. You'll wake up. But if you're taking a little bit to come up, if you hear this chime of my singing bowl, and I demonstrate it for them, I say, so if you hear that sound, you're just going to wake right back up and come right back up to full waking consciousness.
That's great. Now you just need to inform the American workforce how to wake up from some of the other Zoom calls that they fall asleep on that weren't meant to hypnotize them. Just kidding on that. My last question was on sound healing. So I attended, I believe, a gong bath with you, which I believe is part of the sound healing practice. But can you explain a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. Okay. So now's probably the point where you start to realize I'm really fascinated with the subconscious mind because sound healing works on the subconscious mind as well. And I am having so much fun layering these things over each other, which I'll try to remember to get to that and how fun that is and why that works. So sound healing, I have a few crystal singing bowls. I have a didgeridoo, a conch shell, a frame drum, a little tongue drum, and then my favorite is my gong. And all of the sound healing instruments can take us pretty much instantaneously to that really peaceful meditative state without us doing anything but just letting go and following the sound. And yet there's something about the gong that just takes you so deep, so fast. Usually within 3 to 90 seconds, your conscious mind has realized, I have no idea how to process what I'm hearing. This doesn't make sense. It's not in any sort of harmony or rhythm. I have no idea what to expect. So this confusion technique causes the conscious mind to just say, forget it. I'm stepping out of the way. And so now the subconscious mind is dominant. And just like in hypnotic trance, you can just ride the sound inside yourself and let your mind take you wherever it is you need to go to heal.
That's fantastic. And I've actually experienced a gong bath. They are amazing, I have to attest to. One more time, Siri, can you tell us exactly the name of your business and where we can find you one last time? We're going to love to let the listeners know exactly how they can reach out to you to get either to participate either in a gong bath, or in your sound healing practitioner services, and or hypnotherapy or Kundalini Yoga classes. Tell us one more time, just for the listeners.
Sure. It's Seek with Siri Atma on Facebook. That's my business logo and tagline there. And then my personal Facebook page is just simply Siri Atma Kaur. And so both of those ways are great and safe to reach out, to message me directly, to keep an eye out for events that are coming up that are open to the public. And I'm hoping to soon have a website up and running, but there's also, for scheduling and whatnot, but there's also something I really like about the personal one-on-one back and forth of scheduling with folks. And it just, I don't want to give that up. I would still always have that be an option instead of just going on the website and choosing a date and time on a calendar. I like to have that one-on-one, just starting to build that rapport.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. Oh my gosh, we had learned amazing. A lot, and
I learned a lot myself.
I always enjoy your energy, just being around you. I do want to say for my viewers out there, for our viewers out there, be sure to tune in with Siri, Seek Siri, Seek with Siri Atma Kaur. And be sure to tune in on Thursday, March 11th, for our interview with Crescent Sims, owner of Crescent Marine Waist Trainers. If you're wondering where our audio versions of the podcast is located, please join us at the Patreon page at patreon.com. Did we make ourselves clear? And also, you can show your support by also listening to us on SoundCloud. So thank you so very much again, Siri.
That's right. And, KP couldn't be here, but it wouldn't be Did We Make Ourselves Clear if we didn't use his sign off. So, in the words of KP and the legendary Simply CeeLo Green, I know the Lord ain't brought us this far just to drop us off here. Did we make ourselves clear?
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.